My name is Iris Viveros. I'm a second-year PhD student in the Gender, Women, and Sexuality Studies Department, and representing. But I'm also a dancer. I'm part of this beautiful community called the Seattle Fandango Project. And every time I talk about the Seattle Fandango Project, I say that the lens through which I understand the world is through my music and through my dance. So for me, it's a theory. My dance is a philosophy, and that's the way I practice activism. And so the way we want to do this conversation, we want to have this conversation is, as I said before, we just want to give the opportunity to these students, the students to talk about the work they've done as part of a collective, because we know activism is a collective process. And then we're going to open it up for people to also share their experiences with activism, because I think in some way or another we all are part of these processes, especially if you're here, right? You're being part of a process, of one of those processes. Thank you.
Would you like to talk about your...
Yeah.
More about Ayotzinapa?
So, okay.
Just good. Okay. I think the way I understand activism is since I was little. My parents always taught me to not only think of myself. So I don't think activism is something that you decide to do because it's fun. It's something that is just part of your life, it's part of your philosophy. I started becoming more active as a co-organizer in the Seattle Fandango Project, because that was the space where I found empowerment. And I think the Seattle Fandango Project for me has been a community in which I had an idea. I said, oh, why don't we do this? And then the community just became part of the process. Okay, so it wasn't only me. It's never been only me. So I'm here just speaking as one part of the Seattle Fandango Project. And I was born and raised in Mexico, and unfortunately we know that the things that are happening right now with the students, 43 students missing from Ayotzinapa, and this is part of state violence, the disappearance of students. So it just happens that I was contacted to have a dialogue with the parents of the students who went missing. So we had this Skype dialogue, live streaming dialogue with the parents, in which we collaborated with Mecha and also Mexicanos Unidos in Washington. And yesterday we had the visit of a priest who's been organizing and who's been part of like, ¿cómo se dice?
Self-defense.
Self-defense police, part of the community. You know, that's been the response in Mexico by indigenous people. So the way I understand it connects to violence is because community is just a very important response to state violence, to any form of violence. We have to be together. We have to work together, and that's what I want.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello everyone, my name is Elizabeth Ramirez Arreola. I am an immigrant from Mexico. I am also a PhD student here at the University of Washington in Gender, Women, and Sexuality Studies. And hey, yeah, another one. And so I'll be co-leading and co-facilitating with Iris and with the wonderful students as well. And I'll just also tell you very briefly about my history as an activism. And for me, actually, activism was what was my path to education. When I started taking ESL classes at a community center in Everett, which is what the community where I lived. That's what got it all started for me. And so just becoming part of the community center, and then becoming involved with all the classes that were taking place. That's what got me to what I am right now. So I am a living proof that community activism it's amazing and it changes people's lives. And so, as I said, I've been involved with community activism in the Latino community for the last 15 years. And currently, as a graduate student, I became involved with Beyond HB 1079, which is, yay, and they're right here. They'll talk about it in a little bit. And this is a conference that came out through collective action from students as a response to very unequal access to education for undocumented students here in Washington State. And so it is amazing the work that they have done, and they'll talk a little bit more about it. And the way in which I connect my activism with education is that I chose to do my master's practicum with the conference, and so in that sense that allowed me to volunteer and to use some of my, the time that I was going to use anyways towards the conference. And then also, I find that it's super important that we document the process of resistance, because we need to know that people have been here fighting for all this time, and so it's a tool that serves as a tool of healing, to document and to know all the ones that came before us, and obviously that's why we're here today. And so, without further ado, I think we're going to ask for the students to then talk about their organizations and the work that they do, and I'll briefly read 3 of the questions that we ask the students to think about those questions in order to share with us today what they're about to share. So, how the first question that we ask is, how do you become started as an activist, and briefly describe your organization's history and trajectory? How do you connect your education and to your activism, and how is this a response to state-sanctioned violence? And finally, do you see a space for resilience and healing within your collective work? And if so, in what ways? And obviously, these are just the starting points. They're going to share with us what they think is working. And without further ado, I think I will start with Yuri.
Okay, so I didn't know I was first, but I'll be brave anyway. My name's Yuri. I'm a senior here at the UW, majoring in political science and Latin American Caribbean studies, and I'm the co-chair for MECHA, which is Movimiento Estudiantil Chicano de Aztlán, so Chicano Student Movement. Well, to begin with, how did I get involved in activism, or how did I become, or even think of activism was way back when I was like 7 or 8 years old, actually. That's when the initial thought of it came, when my father was pulled over and was taken into custody because he was being racially profiled. He did not have his documentation with him, but he was and he is a permanent resident of the state, and he didn't have that. He didn't have his papers with him, and so immediately they took him into custody, and it was all because it was like 2 days after the new month, and he needed to have his tabs were expired. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. Everybody's watching me. And so he was taken into custody, and he had to stay there for 4 days. And he had his leg amputated, and this was obviously before that, and he's diabetic. And so we took his papers, we talked immigration, we talked to the police officers and everyone, and he wasn't let out. So ever since then, I knew that I had to do something. I knew that I didn't want to stay that way. I knew that I needed to be educated and learn more and learn how to fight the system. And so I think that's how it all began for me.
That's okay, I'll talk about it.
Hi, my name is Graciela Nunez. I know my name for sure. So I'm coordinator of Purple Group, which is an undocumented student support group here at the University of Washington. I started with activism actually pretty much all of my life. I'm originally from Venezuela, and which is like this country in South America. It's at the top of South America, next to Colombia, which is more popular now. So yeah, my grandmother, she was a prime inspiration for me to continue to start activism from a very young age. She pretty much helped overthrow a dictator in the 50s, and I just have that political activism, that fire, that even though if I am in an unfortunate circumstance, which is that I am undocumented and very unafraid. Yes. Even though I'm in that position, I cannot let that position suppress me, oppress me, and not do anything about it. I have to stand up and take any action that I can possible. And that is what inspired me to bring back Purple Group, because Purple Group was actually part of the University of Washington. We're not an RSO, we're not a registered student organization. We're kind of in the we're a secret society. So because it's mostly due to being undocumented is a very political subject. It's very difficult for other students to come out, and that is completely understandable. I didn't come out for pretty much almost a decade because of that fear, because you never know who's gonna be listening and who's gonna take that wrong step. And yeah, so I brought back Purple Group last year out of that activism side of me. I just thought that I cannot let UW silence me. I have to connect with other people. I have to have a community. I have to form a community. If there's not a community, I have to find one, and I have to form one. I have to take that initiative. So that is briefly Purple Group, and yeah, I'm gonna pass the mic over.
So hi everyone, my name is Alejandra Perez. I am a junior at the University of Washington, Bothell. I am studying Society Ethics and Human Behavior and American and Ethnic Studies. So shout out to everybody from Bothell who's here. Yeah, there's a lot of us. I see you everywhere. So my work also started kind of because I had to. I am undocumented too. I am from Guatemala. I immigrated when I was 12 to the US with my mom, my brother. Due to financial circumstances, it was not a choice. It was something we had to do. And when I think of activism, I always think about survival, and it's the way that we survive, and that's why we have to be activists every day. Even if someone is not necessarily actively out there, just walking in this world where you don't fit in, quote unquote, you're practicing activism and survival every day. So I want to make that very clear at the beginning. I'm represented two groups today with the Beyond HB 1079 conference as well as the Washington Dreamer Coalition. And I'll give a little bit of history. The Beyond HB 1079 conference started 4 years ago now by a dear friend of mine who couldn't make it today, but she had a vision of giving access to higher education to undocumented students. I met her as a mentor, as a friend, as a sister that I don't have, and who told me, that being undocumented and accessing higher education was possible. When I used to live in California, they actually told me I couldn't go to college because I didn't have such thing as a social security number. And being an immigrant, from the person who told me had been living here for over 20 years, I believed her. And Then coming to Washington State, I was through mentorship and through other people, I was able to find out that I could go to college. So Beyond really is the only, first of all, the only student-run conference in Washington State that's specifically for undocumented students. The conference is not only for students, it's for educators, it's for community members, and it's for families. We believe that a community is needed to be able to have undocumented students be able to access higher ed. So through the conference, there's multiple workshops, all different tracks. At the end of the day, everybody leaves with hope that they can go to college, including the parents too, and the educators knowing how to be advocates for undocumented students. So the conference, yeah, it does happen every year, and it only happens, for one day, which is sort of like the sucky part about it. But we do reach out a lot of people from across the state. I think when it comes to undocumented students, we often don't, I think in the western part of the state, we're very, a little more for it, the information's out there, but in the eastern part of the state, that's not the case. So we bring people from there so that we can tell them, and that it is possible, and give them all the adequate resources so they can bring it back to their communities. So it's a community effort, and that's what we want to make sure that we tell everybody, so that they can leave with hope, but also knowing that there's action going on ahead of it. And then, through that, I've learned that, one, I love education. I am passionate for it, and that's like always my goal, to make information easily accessible to all students. That's one of my main things. So during my own spare time, I actually have been doing a lot of trainings, both at my school and at different high schools across, with different programs across the area, because I cannot go too far, about how to best support undocumented students. So my role has been really with educators. I am educating my educators on how to best to support me, and my peers. So that's a little bit of the work I've been doing, and I think when it comes to this part about healing, I think we see, there's a lot of hate, unfortunately, out there, towards the undocumented community, saying that we're taking jobs or all this negative stuff that's actually not true. We actually benefit the community so much. A lot. We pay taxes. We do a lot of things. Yeah. And I think how the healing process has happened, within the undocumented movement has been one through social media. The hashtag undocu and then whatever else always comes up. Undocu problems, for example. Sometimes we laugh about them because laughter, makes us heal too. There's a lot of art out there that says, this is how we come together, to fight the higher power, And that's some of the things we've done. There's marches out there, there's chants, and we just go at it with them because we have to live with this, not knowing what's gonna happen the next day. Although right now, through different laws and all this stuff, I'm protected, that doesn't mean my mom is. And me coming out to you today is having my family coming out today too. So this is a community issue, not just my issue, but it's a community issue for all of us. And I think dialogues days are very important, specifically because we get to share our stories with you. And that's another way that we heal, sharing our stories with you. And knowing that it's very hard for a lot of people to come out. A lot of us are a little bit more comfortable with it now, but it took a lot of courage at one point in our lives. So that's a little bit. A little bit, a little snippet. But yeah, there's a lot of work that we're doing, and let's definitely get connected, I think that's why we're here, to come in together on how to, resolve this violence that is happening against our communities through laws, through so many things, and yeah, I'm gonna end with that. Thank you.
All right, hello everyone. My name is Eduardo Rojas. I'm a sophomore at the University of Washington, Seattle. My major, I'm undecided, but definitely in the STEM field. I'm representing both Beyond HB 1079, the conference, and the Washington Dream Act Coalition. So a little bit about myself. I'm also undocumented. I came to the United States when I was 2 years old. Don't even remember coming here. I've lived here all my life, but still got issues with being undocumented. So my identity kind of forced me to become an activist because there was, a lot of inequalities that I had to overcome, and if you really want something done, you have to actively get up and you try to see what you can do about it, and little by little, you get with other people you get through progress. So I talked a lot about Beyond, so I guess I'll talk about the Washington Dream Act Coalition. So the Washington Dream Act Coalition is a coalition led by mostly youth that started to get to push towards the Dream Act, which is a law that would have allowed a lot of students to receive financial aid for higher education. Do you know what the rest was?
The federalized could have given citizenship.
And then, path to citizenship. So the most recent success was the Real Hope Act that was passed last year, which allowed undocumented students to receive financial aid from the state for higher education. So that's it's good success. We're still working within the coalitions to try to push towards to solve other inequalities, in politics. And then also we reach out a lot to community to inform them about their rights, and like any other laws that may have been passed or for example, Obama's executive order on deferred action. We try to inform our community a lot about that too. Anything on it? Oh yeah, and then we're also an affiliate with United We Dream, which is the national, it's the largest national youth-led immigrant organization. So they're really big. They have affiliates in every state, almost every state, I think. And we're their main affiliate here in Washington. So we often get to travel to Washington, D.C., Arizona, a place around where we have a lot of trainings to get stuff going in our state.
Okay. So now, actually, I just wanted to say that now we're going to continue with our high school students, and so I just wanted to point out that activism doesn't have to wait until college. So now, here they are. Okay,
I'm gonna let Alejandra go first.
Hi, I'm Ayanda, and I'm from Garfield High School, Black Student Union. Like everybody said to me, activism really is about survival. And so I guess activism has always been like a family thing for me. On my mom's side, I'm South African, and she grew up there for the first couple years of her life, but her father and her grandfather were fighting apartheid, and so my grandfather had to flee the country, and my mom and all her siblings got separated across the continent. And then when the family was finally able to come back together, they chose what's the next place we're going to move to because they're going to kill us. And so basically they chose Canada, and so my family ended up over there. And so I guess coming from the whole fighting apartheid thing and whatnot, activism has always been something that's been encouraged in my family. And I guess also just watching all the terrible things that happened over there and that happened here and even in Canada and the West Indies, which is where my father is from. I've just always been, I guess, angry, which is sad, but I guess it's always forced me to grow up faster than a lot of other kids, so I feel like I've always been participating in activism in some way. At first it was probably just speaking out, I guess, against injustices, and then I want to say half a year ago, I started going to protests and things like that related to the Black Lives Matter movement. And before that, it was Occupy Seattle, and those protests that were happening I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 years ago when we were really popping in Seattle, but that's how my activism began.
Okay, I'm Deja. I'm also part of Garfield's Black Student Union. Activism, I guess, kind of, I was going to say like it fell into my lap, but like it really didn't. My family, we've grown up poor, and I like, you know, I lived in a homeless shelter, and like they used to ask my family like, hey, can you speak about like your time here, and like can you, because my mom was going to school and we were like the successful family, if you will, and they always had us like speak on the news about our life. So I guess like that's how it kind of began, but I would really consider it beginning for me when I got a job at with Seattle Youth Garden Works at Seattle Tilth, and it really like I became really I blossomed there, if you will, no pun intended. And they like I learned everything that I could possibly learn about activism. Like I don't know, everything just kind of clicked when I got that job, and then Black Student Union. Starting, I didn't go to Garfield my junior year, and I like tried to start like a Black Student Union there, but because of where I was at, they told me to change it to Persons of Color Union, because they didn't want it to be specifically Black people. So I like made a Persons of Color Union, which didn't really, it wasn't successful. Everyone at the school sucked. So then I came back to Garfield, and I joined Black Student Union. I knew it was like the right thing to do, and I've had the time of my life, I guess I could say, because I'm with people who all want to do the same thing that I want to do. We all want our freedom, and we all want our equality, and it's real. I've found a family at Black Student Union, and it's great.
Hi, I'm Zanala, and I'm part of BSU at Garfield. And I guess my activism really started with my mom's stories about my grandparents, the same as my sister and told you guys about. And like, I mean, I guess I really didn't appreciate, you know, all the people that were fighting and doing all of this stuff. That like I just didn't even know about it. I just kind of thought, oh well, it's not affecting me really, until I grew up and I saw the world for what it really was. And I started going to protests in the summer with my sister, and the first protest, it really opened my eyes to see what was going on in this world, and then you know hearing about Trayvon Martin and now Michael Brown and Eric Garner, I just felt like I have to do something, because I know that, you know, we're about to make a huge change with what's going on in Ferguson, and I don't want to be on, like, the wrong side of history and just look back and remember, you know, I just sat around and I didn't do anything. I guess now I'm pretty much trying to, in school, you know, get other freshmen into BSU and try and tell other people and make it more so that they understand and they don't have to, you know, just wait and like just sit around basically. And so, yeah.
Hello everyone, my name is Shedrick Johnson, and I am with Black Student Union at Garfield High School as well. Activism started with me when my people were constantly getting killed by cops. And activism also started with me when I said, enough is enough. And when I realized that me as a young person has a voice, and if I can join with others like BSU, then we could all make a change together. So I joined BSU, and we had our first march around October 27th, and what a day that was in history. It had to be one of the greatest marches in Seattle, Washington, I'm telling you. It was huge, and it took a toll on me because it helped me realize that maybe we can do this thing the right way. We don't have to riot, we don't have to burn buildings. You know, we just have to let our voices be heard, you know, the right way. We don't have to get shot by any police. We don't have to attack anybody. But we can let our voices be heard as young black, as young black people. Yeah, thank you.
Hello, my name is Zaria White. I am also a member of Garfield High School Black Student Union. Activism. I never really grew up trying to be an activist. I knew of them. Like, I knew of MLK, I knew of all these other people that have done great things in this world, and I didn't really think I could ever be compared or do something as great as them. I will say that I was taught my rights from wrongs, and I would just act upon that. If I saw something wrong, I would speak up about it. If I saw something right, I would, I would congratulate the person for getting that right, or, but I never really saw it as doing something great. I just thought it was human nature, But I did grow up going to marches, rallies. I went to all that when I was younger. My mom would bring me and my sister to the MLK marches every year, and it was just normal to me. It wasn't something big. It was just my life.
My name is Christina, and I'm one of the advisors to the Black Student Union at Garfield High School. It's
Fandango project too.
And I'm entirely part of Seattle Fandango project. But as far as my activism, I really feel like I came into it pretty late. And it's funny because I attended Garfield, and just growing up as a transracial adoptee, as somebody who did have the opportunity to experience the advanced placement tracking in Seattle schools, often being the token black person in the classroom, I was really alienated from my blackness growing up. And it was something I didn't really get a chance to connect with as a high school student. And I do remember a counselor at the time, he was writing my letter of recommendation, writing something about me being an older sister or an older sibling to Black and Latino students at Garfield. And I remember that it really rubbed me the wrong way at the time. This was a little over, it was 12 years ago. He's writing this letter, and I'm thinking, but I don't have barely any Black friends or even Latino friends at the school. Like, why is he putting this into my letter of recommendation? And I kind of asked him to take it out, and he wouldn't, and so I actually deleted it. He was my counselor, and I was sitting there on his computer, and I just took it out of the letter. But interestingly, now I am a Spanish bilingual instructional assistant at Garfield, and as I mentioned, working with the BSU. So it's just interesting. That's something I really took for granted at the time, and it was kind of an opportunity for me to, over the course of the past years, to really find myself through a variety of different communities. And I guess with BSU at Garfield, this is, I would say, the second year of really powerful, amazing leadership coming from the youth. I came to the advisor position kind of by chance. Our other advisor was on paternity leave, and nobody in the building really stepped up to take on the position, so a colleague and I decided to co-advise starting this last year, and we're just really blown away by all of the things that the students have had to say, the truth that they're speaking to the reality of students at the school and just in Seattle in general. You guys are amazing. And I don't think they were there giving themselves credit for a lot of the stuff that they've done, but I've been really impressed by the way that BSU students have also brought in film and music and art and just a lot of different things into the work that they're doing. And it's really just been an honor and a privilege for me to get involved with the club and to kind of refine myself and my activism through my current capacity as co-advisor.